На нашей стороне огневая мощь и защита. Сколько же уцелеет немецких в открытом поле, скажем, десяток леопардов и 10 прорывов, итог сражения будет предрешен. Согласно расчетам, к тому моменту, когда немецкие железные звери только подойдут на расстояние выстрела, Т-90М за счет высокой дальности и темпа стрельбы уже сожгут больше половины вражеских машин.
Russia's reaction? Laughter. They called it a worthless antique. On state television, pundits and military analysts openly mocked it as a toothless cat, a museum piece destined for the scrapyard. When a coalition of Germany, Denmark, and the Netherlands announced a plan to send well over 100 Cold War-era Leopard 1A5 tanks to Ukraine, Kremlin spokespeople dismissed it as a joke. They ran graphics showing the Leopards being obliterated by modern Russian T-90s, pointing to their thin armor as a fatal, unforgivable flaw. And on paper, they weren't wrong. This was a tank designed in the 1960s, a relic from a different era of warfare. But they didn't count on one thing. They didn't count on Ukrainian ingenuity. They didn't count on what Ukraine would do with it. Because on the drone-saturated battlefields of the Kharkiv and Donetsk regions, this so-called museum piece is not just surviving, it's thriving. It's not fighting the war Russia expected, but the one that exists today. And in doing so, this 60-year-old design has become a modern nightmare for Russian forces, humiliating the very army that wrote it off as scrap. So how did Ukraine transform an obsolete relic into one of its most effective battlefield predators? The answer is a story of tactical genius, battlefield adaptation, and the birth of a new kind of warfare. To understand just how improbable the Leopard 1's success is, you have to rewind the clock to its birth. Conceived in the late 1950s, the Leopard 1 was a product of a radical and ultimately short-lived design philosophy. At the time, powerful new anti-tank missiles and HEAT rounds led many Western military thinkers to a stark conclusion. Conventional steel armor was becoming obsolete. No matter how thick you made it, a shaped charge could likely punch right through. The new belief was that survivability didn't come from passive protection, but from speed, agility, and firepower. The doctrine was simple: see the enemy first, shoot first, and kill first. If that failed, be fast enough to get out of the way. The Leopard 1 was the embodiment of this idea. The Leopard 1 was the embodiment of this idea. It was given a powerful engine that made it one of the most mobile tanks of its day, hitting speeds over 65 kilometers per hour. And it was armed with a legendary weapon: the British-designed Royal Ordnance L 7 105mm rifled gun, a cannon so successful it became the NATO standard for decades. But to achieve this speed, a sacrifice had to be made, and that sacrifice was armor. At its thickest point, the Leopard 1A5 steel armor is a mere 70mm. To put that in perspective, a modern Russian T-72's armor can be equivalent to over 700mm in places, especially with advanced composite materials and explosive reactive armor. This makes the Leopard 1A5 vulnerable to almost every anti-tank weapon on the modern battlefield. A direct hit from a modern tank, a guided missile, or even a heavy RPG would likely be catastrophic. This glaring weakness was the entire basis for Russia's propaganda campaign. They weren't guessing. They were looking at the schematics and concluding, not unreasonably, that sending these tanks to a 21st century front line was a suicide mission. They were supposed to be easy kills, metal coffins for their Ukrainian crews, and proof of the West's desperation. The stage was set for a slaughter. But that slaughter never came, because Ukraine had no intention of playing by Russia's rules. So if the Leopard 1 can't survive a direct confrontation, how is it dominating engagements and leaving Russian commanders baffled? The answer is as simple as it is brilliant. Ukraine isn't using it as a main battle tank. They've fundamentally redefined its role. Instead of charging into enemy fire, they've transformed it into a mobile, long-range precision weapon, a sniper tank. It's a ghost that appears, strikes with lethal accuracy, and vanishes before the enemy even knows what's hit them. This new doctrine sidesteps the tank's greatest weakness, its armor, and leverages its three underappreciated strengths: its gun, its sights, and its speed. Let's start with the weapon system. The 105mm L7 gun may be an old design, but it's a masterpiece of accuracy, often called a sniper rifle by its crews for its precision over long distances. But the gun is only half of the equation. The real magic of the Leopard 1A5 lies in its brain, the EMES-18 fire control system. This advanced computerized system was derived from the same family as the one found in the much more modern Leopard 2. It integrates a laser rangefinder, powerful thermal sights for day and night engagements, and a ballistic computer that automatically calculates for factors like range and movement. A Ukrainian gunner can lay their crosshairs on a target, fire the laser, and within a second, the computer adjusts the gun for a perfect shot. Crews report being able to effectively engage targets from distances of 3 kilometers or more, often beyond the effective range of older Russian tanks whose crews are essentially firing blind. This combination enables the shoot and scoot tactic. Thanks to its high speed, a Leopard crew can use the terrain to their advantage, finding a concealed firing position, popping up to fire 1 or 2 precise shots, and immediately reversing back into cover to relocate. For the Russian soldiers on the receiving end, it's terrifying. A high-velocity shell arrives out of nowhere, and then silence. The shooter is gone. The Leopard's armor doesn't matter if the enemy can't see it, and it doesn't matter if the enemy can't hit it. But there's a new threat that can hunt even the most mobile tanks, the kamikaze drone. Recognizing this, Ukrainian field workshops got creative. They began adding layers of Soviet-designed Contact 1 explosive reactive armor, or ERA, onto the hull and turret. These explosive bricks detonate outwards when struck, disrupting an incoming warhead. They then covered many tanks in custom-fitted cope cages and slat armor, metal screens designed to detonate drones before they make contact. The results have been impressive. While no tank is invulnerable, there are reports of these up-armored Leopards surviving multiple drone strikes that might have otherwise destroyed an unmodified vehicle, allowing the crew a chance to escape. By transforming the Leopard 1 into a drone-resistant sniper, Ukraine has created a weapon perfectly tailored to the realities of this new war. The tactical success of the Leopard 1A5 has translated into a strategic humiliation for Russia. The very weapon that Kremlin propagandists mocked as a toothless cat is now prowling the front lines, methodically hunting Russian assets. Each successful strike is a direct and embarrassing refutation of their initial dismissive analysis. These aren't just random potshots. They are deliberate, high-impact raids that are shaping the battlefield. Reports from the front describe these sniper tanks being used to hunt high-value targets, command posts, light-armored vehicles, supply trucks, and critical infantry strongpoints. There are even accounts of Leopards being used in daring, close-range assaults to blast entrenched infantry from captured positions. Every vehicle destroyed and every position suppressed by a Leopard 1 forces Russian commanders to divert precious resources. They have to expend their own drones, artillery, and manpower to hunt down these elusive ghosts that are bleeding their forces dry from kilometers away. The psychological impact on Russian soldiers can't be overstated. They are fighting an enemy they often cannot see, one that strikes with impunity and then disappears, leaving destruction in its wake. The tank they were told was a joke has become a deadly serious problem. The story of the Leopard 1A5 in Ukraine is more than just an underdog tale. It signals a potential shift in armored warfare. For decades, the dominant idea was a relentless race for heavier armor and bigger guns, culminating in 70-ton behemoths like the M1 Abrams and Leopard 2. Ukraine's experience suggests that in an age of ubiquitous sensors and drone swarms, tactical innovation and intelligent doctrine are becoming just as important as raw technological superiority. The Leopard 1A5's success has demonstrated that mobility and accuracy can, in themselves, be a form of armor. By refusing to engage in the kind of head-on slugging match it was never designed for, Ukraine has made its thin protection a non-issue. They have proven that an older, supposedly obsolete platform can be repurposed into a highly effective tool when its strengths are maximized and its weaknesses are mitigated. This isn't about replacing modern tanks, but about supplementing them with specialized platforms that can perform different roles. The Leopard 1A5 isn't a brawler, it's an assassin. And on the fluid, drone-filled battlefields of Ukraine, the assassin is proving to be just as deadly as the heavyweight fighter. In the end, Russia's mockery was born from a fundamental misunderstanding. They looked at the Leopard 1A5 and saw a 60-year-old tank. Ukraine looked at it and saw a mobile chassis, a world-class fire control system, and a hyper-accurate gun. Russia saw a museum piece. Ukraine saw potential. By turning an antique into an effective sniper platform perfectly suited for the modern battlefield, Ukrainian forces have not only added a potent weapon to their arsenal, they have delivered a masterclass in tactical creativity. They've shown the world that in modern warfare, victory doesn't always go to the one with the thickest armor, but often to the one with the smartest ideas. What are some other examples of older weapon systems being used in incredibly innovative ways on the modern battlefield? We'd love to read your thoughts in the comments below. And for more in-depth analysis of military technology and tactics, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel.